everyone, welcome to Winnie's School of Elegance. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips on how to communicate elegantly. Now, believe it or not, your manner of communication determines a great deal on how your life would be. It will determine the quality of your friendships, the quality of your relationships, and pretty much will determine the overall quality of your life. Communication is one skill that needs to be developed, and it matters a great deal on your leveling up or your elegant journey. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you ways to communicate elegantly so that you can improve the quality of your life and your relationships as well. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you some books that you can read to help you elevate your communication skills so that you can be an excellent communicator. So watch this video till the very end so that you can get all of the books that I'll be sharing. And then of course, join our community if you haven't joined us yet. This channel is about leveling up on all areas of life. We'll be touching on topics from finance, femininity, dining etiquette, communication. We're talking about your dating skills, your fashion sense, your personality. It's just literally leveling up on all areas. So if you are about the life of leveling up, then you definitely should be a part of our community. So just subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can get instantly notified whenever we upload a new video. All right, let's get right into the video of today. So the very first point on my list on how to communicate elegantly would be pay attention to the tone of your voice. So the tone of your voice is as important as the message you are communicating. And the tone of your voice determines the response that you would get as well from whoever you're communicating to. The tone of your voice adds meaning to your message, and this will determine a great deal how your message will be received. So when you want to ask a person for something, or when you want to communicate something to someone, depending on what it is you want to communicate, ensure that the tone of your voice matches whatever it is you're communicating. So for example, if you want to ask someone for something, be very mindful of how you approach. So don't go and say, "Hi, can I have that thing? Please give me that thing." Even though you've added please to that statement, you still sound very brash and harsh, and the person would wonder if you have any respect or any class to you. So instead of communicating that way, rather communicate this way. "Please, can I have that?" So mind the tone of your voice. It matters a great deal. So, "Can I have that thing?" and "Please, can I have that?" Can you see the measurements in the tone, the tone level of my voice? The first one sounds very brash and harsh. The second one is very soft. And trust me, the second one will get you a better response. The second tip on my list on how to communicate elegantly would be don't raise the sound of your voice. Some people are very used to literally shouting or screaming whenever it is that they want to communicate something. So for example, I have a perfect example for this one. When you are in a room and you're about to maybe call someone in the sitting room, instead of you to either maybe text or make a phone call or just get up and move to the sitting room and call the person, you literally would go, so for example, you go, "Arize!" That's not elegant. There is nothing elegant about raising your voice. An elegant person always ensures that they are on a, what's the word? The tone of voice is always very soft. So when you know that you want to communicate and it has to be soft, you definitely know that when you want to call somebody who is not in the same room with you, you will not use the method of shouting. You would either call the person on the phone or text the person or just simply get up and go talk to the person. So that applies to everything else. When you're trying to, even when you are having fun and being friendly or in a social gathering with your friends, don't ever raise your voice. Raising your voice does not show class. It doesn't show elegance. It just makes you look very ratchet. And that's the absolute truth. So as an elegant person, you do not raise your voice when you are communicating, even when you are angry. Elegance requires you to stop when you're angry and not talk until the anger emotion has passed. When it has passed is when you now choose to communicate. So when you are angry, do not raise your voice. I know guys, sometimes life happens and you find yourself in a situation where you're like, "I couldn't hold myself back. I just had to talk." Maintaining an elegant lifestyle means when you're angry, even when you are angry, you stop and not talk until the anger has passed. And when the anger has passed, you address whatever situation you need to address in a very calm and and in an elegant manner. So please don't raise your voice no matter the scenario and the circumstance. So the third way on my list on how to communicate elegantly would be avoid being repetitive and do not talk too much. You can pass across your message in a few simple words. And truth of the matter is that speaking less makes you very mysterious, which puts you in a power position because nobody knows whatever it is that you're thinking. So try as much as possible when you're communicating, whether with your family members or your friends or your co-workers or even your staff, your employees, try as much as possible to limit the amount of things that you say. Don't repeat yourself over and over again. I have a friend, for example, who likes to give advice and give words of wisdom and all of those stuff. And one thing I notice about this person is, yes, their advice sounds really cool, but I find that they repeat themselves over and over and over again. Maybe not exactly with the same words, but they repeat the points that they're trying to make just so that they can communicate clearly. I don't know if it's a Nigerian thing, but try as much as possible to state your points and state your facts the very first time with very few words and believe that your listener has heard whatever it is that you have communicated to them. Okay, so try and use very minimal words when you're trying to communicate whatever it is that you're communicating. That makes you very elegant. The next tip on my list would be avoid the use of fillers. Now, fillers makes you look like you have no clue what you're saying, and then sometimes you may even bore your listeners out when you use too many fillers. Fillers include things like in fact, you're just going all over the place just because you're trying to that was an example. So avoid using fillers completely when you are communicating. Maybe once in a while you can chip it in here and there because fillers actually helps you collect your thoughts, but you can actually practice the use of speaking freely and fluently without fillers. So the one way you can practice speaking fluently and not use a lot of fillers is every time you have an opportunity, just go in front of a mirror or stand in front of what looks like an imaginary audience, and for the next 60 seconds, speak about any topic of your choice without breaking. Now, if you break at any point before the 60 seconds elapses, go back again to the very first count and start again until you can go 60 seconds speaking about any topic whatsoever without the use of fillers. When I first discovered this, I was like, okay, how's this possible? And trust me guys, I started to practice over and over again. And now I think I can even go over 2 minutes speaking freely and fluently without breaking or without using fillers. So practice this and it will literally elevate your communication skill, and you will hold conversations without boring your listeners or making them feel like you do not know what you're saying. This next point helps me buttress my former point, and it simply is pace your words. This actually allows you to think through whatever it is you want to say before you speak it out with your mouth. So for example, when you're gisting with your friends and like, tell me why imagine that girl was like, she was like, she didn't even know what she wanted to say. I told her now, that's how, no, when you're trying to communicate, even with your friends, you can go and simply say, so Tomiwa, that was how I met this girl the other day. And she seemed to know exactly what she wanted to say, but I didn't quite get it. So I gave her a piece of my mind. I'm speaking calmly and softly, and I'm pacing my words to collect my thoughts. I'm not just going, so Tommy, well, that's how that girl came the other day. Like I'm not doing that. That will literally you will not coordinate your thoughts. You won't put structure to whatever it is you're communicating. But when you take your time and you pace your words, Tommy, well, that girl came the other day, and I really didn't like how she approached me, so I gave her a piece of my mind. That already makes you feel like I know what I'm saying. I am not struggling or strafing myself or feeling some kind of way about what I'm saying. I'm confident in what I'm saying, and that's the reason why I'm saying it very calmly. So when you're talking, when you're communicating, pace your words, take your time. You are an elegant person. You are a queen and you are a king. When queens and kings make decrees, they don't rush. They take their time, and their listeners have to stand and listen to them. People will not stand and listen to you when you don't seem like you know what you're saying or when you don't have your words calculated. So take your time and pace your words, okay? The next point that I put down on my list on how to communicate elegantly would be pay attention to your manner of approach. This is actually connected and linked to my very first point. When you want to ask someone for something or when you want to communicate something to somebody, your manner of approach matters, and this will determine a great deal the kind of response that you receive as well. So for example, you are a wife who wants to communicate to her husband, maybe to buy some groceries on the way back from work, and you see that your husband is not really in a very excited or interesting state of mind. You can see he's probably juggling or rushing out the door. That's not the right time to tell him what you want to tell him, but that's the only time that you have to tell him what you want to tell him. So when you monitor and look at his appearance or his demeanor and you can see that whatever you want to tell him is not the right time, but you have to say it, that should now help you be conscious and aware of how to approach your husband. So you can simply approach in a very calm manner. Hi, babe. Please, I know that this is not a very good time to tell you this, but I really need you to remember to purchase a loaf of bread or a cup of tea or whatever it is you want to ask him. Or you can even say, babe, please do not forget, or please remember to buy, in a very calm manner. But imagine your husband is in a very aggravated condition and you go and say, babe, please don't forget that thing I asked you to buy, oh, please don't forget that thing, oh. Do you think he's going to listen to you? Do you think he's going to hear you? That's just an example. This applies to your co-workers, your colleagues, your mom, your dad, your friends, your sisters, whoever it is. Pay attention to your manner of approach. When you want to communicate, pay attention to how you approach the person that you're trying to communicate to, because that will depend a great deal the kind of answer or the kind of response that you will receive from them. And of course, an elegant person is not brash and rude and disrespectful in their manner of approach. So pay very close attention to that, okay? The next point on my list on how to communicate elegantly would be don't tap and hit your listeners. Some people are very used to tapping and like, did you hear that thing about that guy? He came that day and he was like, Appa, like, how can you do that? Don't do that. That's not an elegant way of communicating. Keep your hands to yourself. Keep it by your side, on your laps. Just be elegant. Raise your shoulders like a queen and talk to the person who you want to talk to. So did you see the way that guy did what he did and he was like, oh, that didn't really sound cool. Don't go. Did you see that thing? Yes, I know sometimes you may be in social gatherings and you're gossiping with your friend and the gossip is actually sweeter when you're tapping and you're hitting. But sometimes you may forget that the person by your side or the person who is listening to you is not your friend. Maybe a total stranger that you just met and you're busy tapping and jesting and hitting because you feel like your hands can move. Pack your hands and keep it to yourself. You're a queen, okay? This brings me to my next point. When you are communicating and you want to communicate elegantly, keep your hand gestures to the barest minimum. So I know people, I do it sometimes. I said to myself that I talk with my hands a lot and I had to actually really constantly practice not talking with my hands so much. So people who go, so that's how the other day he was like, so Winnie friend, I wanted to tell you that the other day, so you move like that, you move this way, you are scattered. That's too scattered. Don't do that. Don't be like, so he was like, immediately he ran up the stairs. You're too scattered. So just compose yourself and even if you must use your hand gestures once in a while. So Winifred, that guy was like, he came the other day and just limit or reduce the amount of times that you use your hands to gesticulate. I know that sometimes it's easier for you to talk, like I'm doing now. It's easier for you to talk with your hands. So minimize it to the barest minimum and don't be overly about, oh, let's do this way. Like, that's ghetto. Don't do that. This next one is actually one of my favorite for very good reason. When you're communicating and you want to communicate elegantly, avoid the use of slangs, swear words, and curses. Slangs, swear words, and curses. Hey, bitches! What's that? Who is a bitch? No one's a bitch here. A bitch is a she-dog. Is that what you are? Don't do that. What's hey, bitches? No. Hey, ladies. Sounds more elegant. Okay? So avoid the use of slangs, avoid the use of swear words like the FU one and then the kid. You heard that? An elegant person doesn't use slangs or curse words or swear words. So curse words like, an elegant person doesn't even curse. No, I'm stupid, or you're stupid, or you're an idiot, or you're foolish. You don't do that even when even when you're joking. An elegant person does not use swear words or slangs or curse words. It's not part of our vocabulary. So if you are that person who uses all of these, try as much as possible to take it out of your language if you want to be truly identified as an elegant person, okay? Another way to communicate elegantly would be to improve your vocabulary. So when you are trying to speak or communicate with people and you have a rich collection of vocabulary, trust me, you have a better chance of keeping the attention of your listeners. So for example, instead of saying, oh, I'm very cold or I feel cold, you can go, I feel very chilly or it's quite chilly here. That literally that's even very minimal increase of vocabulary, but that's different from the usual or the regular, I'm cold. Or when you say, when someone asks you, how are you? And you say, I'm fine. That's regular. You can up it and say, oh, I'm over the moon with joy. I'm over the moon with excitement. That's an increase in vocabulary. So just try as much as possible to improve your vocabulary. You can do that either by reading books, when you're watching movies. So if you're watching a movie, don't just focus on the entertainment part of the movie. Focus on picking out a few things from the movie as well, especially when it comes to vocabulary. So when you're listening to the news, listen to the newscaster use her rich choice of words and pick out vocabularies that you can add to your everyday communication. Trust me, that helps you communicate more elegantly. So that's the very first part of communicating elegantly. But there's another part that is different from when you're the one doing the communication, which is being an active listener. Being an active listener is actually a major part of communication as well. And I have a few tips under this section to just share with you on how you can actually be involved in a communication process as an active listener in a very elegant fashion. The very first point under this part would be listen with full care and attention. Don't listen to respond. A lot of people do listen to respond. Don't listen to the person who is communicating to respond to them. Listen to them to get the full understanding of their message. There's a reason why they're telling you what they're telling you. It's not for you to respond or try to defend yourself. Eliminate being defensive, first of all, especially when you are having conversations or communications with people who are more personal with you, like your friends, your family, your cousins, your relatives, even your co-workers, even your employees and your staff members. When they come to you and approach you with something, it's important that you listen with attentiveness and not to defend yourself. Trust me, it literally takes your communication to a whole new level, and people will be able to approach you with whatever concerns or problems that you think or they think they might have, and they know that you would give them your full attention without being defensive or judgmental. Listening requires you to be respectful, considerate, and compassionate to the speaker. So listen to listen. Do not listen to respond. Even the Bible says, be slow to speak and quick to listen. So the listening part of communication is actually the most important part of communication. Trust me, guys, it literally helps you stay elegant and helps you improve the quality of your relationships. The next point under this would be, don't interrupt when someone is talking to you. Oh my God, no matter how tempted you are, do not interrupt. I found myself doing this a couple of times in the past, and someone actually brought my attention to it, and I decided to really pay attention to it and see if I could work on that. And I tell you that I was able to successfully work on it. So when someone is talking to you, try as much as possible not to interrupt them. This can be very difficult and very hard to practice. Like, it can be difficult to do, especially if the person is going on and 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 on, saying things that probably doesn't matter to you. Or don't interrupt. Even if you must interrupt, there's a right way to interrupt. There's a respectful way to interrupt. not interrupting. There's an effective way to just say, you know what, I don't want to hear you anymore, but that's not how you say it. But say it in a very respectful and a polite manner, especially if you're rushed for time, or if you don't want to keep hearing what they have to say to you, especially if you're not interested in what they're saying. There's a more polite and respectful way to say it. But again, if someone is trying to communicate something to you, don't interrupt. It's very rude and it's very disrespectful, okay? One thing that makes you an active listener is when someone is communicating to you, show that you are listening, either by nodding your head in agreement or smiling at something that your communicator is saying to you. So just show them that you are present, and show them that you're paying attention to whatever it is that they're saying to you. Oh yes, that's absolutely true. I think that's a good point. Those are easy ways to show that you are present in whatever is being communicated to you. When you are engaged in a communication with anyone, be it your family, your friends, whatever, avoid every form of distractions. Put your phone on silent, turn off the TV, whatever it is that you know might distract you from the conversation, whatever it is that's being said to you, try as much as possible to put it away and keep your focus on the person who's communicating to you. And finally, under this point, reflect emphatically before you respond. And so this brings me to my very first point when I was talking about listen to listen, don't listen to respond. When you're done listening and it's time for you to actually respond, when you want to respond, make sure you reflect emphatically on what the person has just said before you give a response. So don't just respond out of being defensive. Make sure that you've absolutely understood what the person is communicating to you before you actually give a response. And your response should be from a place of compassion, respect, consideration. Compassion, respect, and consideration. That's how you become an elegant listener and an elegant communicator. So you guys, elegance actually, like I always say, elegance is a lifestyle. It is one that you need to develop, and improving and upping your communication skills is one way to develop an elegant lifestyle. Before I go on to share the books that I talked about earlier on in this video, if you are interested in our notes, in my personal notes for this particular class, because I really take my time to write down my points, think through the points before I come here to make a video for you guys. If you're interested in the notes, you can join our Telegram group community. Yes, we're growing a community really fast on Telegram. You can join the Telegram group. I share all the notes with everyone on the Telegram group. The link will be in the description box down below. And of course, apart from just the notes, we also share elegant tips, things that help you boost your confidence, things on finance, things that basically just help you live an elegant lifestyle. And we want you to be a part of that community as well. So click on the link in the description box down below and join our Telegram group community. All right, now here are a list of books that you should read to help you improve your communication skill. That's it on today's video. I hope you have learned a thing or two. I'll see you next time in the next class of Winnie's School of Elegance. Until then, remember to stay elegant.